Here's my zero production value one take video on some of the techniques we've learned so far that we can practice on. I know it's been a while since we've had a meeting or a class, so here's a few things you can do on your own and what we've done in the first few classes. All right, so we're working on the messer. We've gone over the parts. We've learned about the long edge, which is the sharpened edge if I'm holding it the way the one facing you right now. The short edge is the opposite edge. You have the strong of the blade, which is the lower half, the weak or fobile, so forte, fobile. The weak's the front half, strong is the back half. You've got the nagel, you have the guard, the pommel. We've gone over the hammer grip as well as a thumb grip where you're placing your thumb on the blade. Those are the two grips we've worked on so far. We've learned the basic footwork, so I'm not worried about the sword right now. We've done taking a normal stance where I've got my right leg, if I'm right-handed, right leg back, my off leg in the front, shoulder width apart more or less, kind of knees bent, nice stable base. Your offhand is either up here, if you're going to get into do some grappling, it's behind your back. If you want it, you're not going to do that. Keep it out of the way. Remember, with a messer, the hand is a primary target, so I'm keeping my hand out of the way. So you have a full step where I'm simply taking my back leg, so taking a full step forward or backward. So I'm changing which leg is my lead leg. So this is down and dirty footwork. There's better videos out there, but this is just reminding us what we practice. You have a half step or broken step. That's taking a small step forward or backward to either gain or increase or decrease distance from your opponent, as well as you have a triangle step, which is rotating or moving around my opponent. So I'm going to step out with my back leg, and then what's now my back leg, my left leg is kind of coming around. So if my opponent's here, it's like I'm circling them. So I'm stepping out and around them. So it comes out and around. That's paired with several techniques to take you offline. If my opponent's in line here, I'm moving offline of their weapon. Okay, so that's our basic footwork that you can practice that if you have time. Practice moving forward and backward, changing guards as you do it. The first guard we've learned is Vomtag, or the roof guard, or in Messer, it's Lugensland, or look into land. English is more like, we'll call it watchtower. So Vomtag, or watchtower, is your weapon up. So in longsword, it would be like that with the Messer. It could be high, it could be mid, it could be lower, it could be more behind your back. The main thing you would want to do though is keep your elbow in line. You're not, that's a target out here, right? So keep it in. If I switch stances, it's going to go to the other side. So watchtower from the right, watchtower from the left. From the right, I could strike an overhand or overhow from right to left or left to right. So that's all that is. We've learned long point, which is exactly like it sounds. The point at your opponent's face. It's a guard where you can ward them off, be able to keep some distance. So this doesn't really change too much for the footwork, a little bit. We've talked about Aber or Boar guard, which is a middle guard. Long point is exactly the same in longsword, same wording. So that's a Boar. Aber is a middle guard, like a plow guard. The weapon in my hand is pretty much at my hip. And the not tricky, but what took some of us getting used to is if I change positions, I'm moving into thumb grip, and now the long edge is going up. So that's Aber or Boar from the left or from the right. Left, right. So thumb grip, hammer grip. All right, so it's 3 guards we've worked on so far. From these 3 guards, we've practiced the peasant strike, which, or the counter to that. So if you give somebody a sword that has no experience, they're going to just come at you with overhand strike. one move we practice is the Zornhau-Ort, or the Wrath Strike, which is basically just an overhand strike, right? So you've got Oberhau, overhand strike, Wrath Strike, which is also called the Zornhau, one of the master cuts. A counter to this, if your opponent is just coming at you with an overhand strike, is to do the same thing. So let's say my opponent's going from right to left, so it's going to come at my left side. I'm going to cut into that and then move into a thrust. So just cut, thrust. We've talked of the concept of doubling, which is every strike in the Leckkunter system, or even Lichtenauer German tradition, should do two things. And it doesn't always do this, but doubling is stopping my opponent's weapon and then striking them. So that Wrath Thrust, or Zornhau-Ort, is stopping my opponent's weapon with the cut and then striking them with a thrust. There's more to that. There's some counters in there in different plays, but the main thing is you're just basically attacking their weapon or their wrist, their hand, and then striking. All right. We covered that in our first class, plus some footwork. The next thing we moved into was some techniques from the Eber or Borgard, which one of the more challenging ones I like to use a lot in sparring is the Pogen or Fiddle, which is called that because it's a movement like this where I'm dropping the point's going down, the hilt is coming up, and I'm using it to block a strike coming to the right side of my head, like that. So even if you don't have a weapon, a sword, look at my thumb, I'm just doing that outward movement, like that. So that's blocking something coming from this direction. If it came to my left side, I could do the same thing, but I'm going to want to step into it and kind of step around with that triangle step. So that's something you can practice. The first part of that is simply a technique like that. So if I do it from my right side, and I'll show you both directions there. If I do it from my left side, I'm in a thumb grip. I was changing my footwork. I'm dropping the point to my left side, bringing the hilt up. So blocking something coming this way, or I'm blocking and a strike coming this direction. So that's the first part. The second part is I've blocked. Now I'm going to strike my opponent in the head. So I'm cutting around, I'm blocking, cutting around quickly, and striking. From the left side, that's all it is. Block, strike. All right, so at the same time you do that, you could bring this hand out as I've blocked their weapon, grab their wrist, then strike. All right, and I'm doing a lot here in this video. Like I said, it's my first one, 0 production value, so it is what it is. But the last thing we're going to talk about is the Zwerchau or Eintrostau and Messer. So we've learned one move if I'm being attacked from left to my right. I can do the fiddle. If I'm getting struck from to the right to my left, I could simply bring my blade up like this, block it, and then I'm doing a triangle step and a thumb grip and Zwerchau, or basically a helicopter movement, and striking with the short edge of my blade, right about here. So it's just block with the edge, always block with the edge, not with the flat, cutting around. Block, cut around. Same thing from the other side, but it's a bit different. So I'm in left Eber, left Bor. I'm going to block, and this time instead of a short edge strike, I'm striking with the long edge. Do that again. So just coming up, moving it up across my body horizontally, blocking the blade here, cutting around. Up, cut around. So that's a whole bunch of things you can work on and practice. I know it's very rough, but if you've done it with us in class, hopefully that helps. And again, you don't even need a steel sword. even like a yardstick, something with a flat so you can practice that thumb grip will help. And that's it for now. I'll end this really bad video.